Today I'm on Garlick Hill Street, which is located in the City of London and nearby some of the biggest financial institutions in the world today. But if you'd come here 100 years ago, this street was the base of the firms run by people from around the world, especially Germany, Russia, America and Central Asia, almost all of whom were involved in the sale of furs, skins and also carpets. This part of the city had been associated with the fur trade for centuries, but by the 1920s it had become a global hub for the sale of skins and furs. We're now on Great St Thomas Apostle Street, where many fur traders had offices. Until the 1860s, most of the furs sold in this area of London derived from wild fur-bearing animals and were often imported from North America, especially Canada, and Russia, mostly Siberia. By the middle of the 19th century, the hunting of fur-bearing animals in Siberia and North America had resulted in significant levels of depletion in the number of animals living in those contexts. And it was this that led the fur trade increasingly to turn to the use of domesticated animals to source skins and pelts that could be used as fur. One breed of domesticated animal that was used to produce pelts was the Karakul sheep. This was a breed of sheep that was native to Central Asia, especially the Emirate of Bukhara, and had been used in that region for centuries to produce furs. Artisans in the region were able to transform the pelt of recently born Karakul lambs into a type of fur known for its soft and glossy quality. In the 1920s, these buildings would have housed the offices of people involved in the Karakul Fur Trade. Many of them moved to the city around that period from Russia after the revolution of 1917. Some of them were Jewish and others of them were Muslim, and what they all were involved in, however, was the Karakul Fur Trade, and they brought Karakul furs to London from Central Asia and Afghanistan. The skins would have arrived at these wharfs nearby the City of London, having reached here from the port of Bombay before 1947 and the port of Karachi after 1947. They would have then been stored in warehouses until they were sold at auction. The Karakul fur trade continued to expand until really the 1970s, by which point several million skins a year were being sold at auctions held in a building that was located on this site. That building was the Beaver House that was run and managed by the Hudson's Bay Company, a giant in the fur trade since the 17th century. The Karakul trade and the traders involved in it from Afghanistan and Central Asia had a consequential role for the British economy, especially after World War II, when the country was in need of foreign capital. The traders also played an important role in the UK's international relations. They travelled far and wide, but perhaps most importantly, to the fur auctions held in the Soviet Union in the great city of what was then Leningrad. During that period, the economy of Afghanistan came to depend increasingly on the export of Karakul skins. Merchants, traders, government officials, and figures from the embassy here in London would have met 7 or 8 times a year in this part of London. At the end of the 1970s, though, the Karakul fur trade went into a rapid decline, and that was caused by 2 factors. First, the animal rights movement. Protesters campaigned ever more vociferously against the fur trade on the grounds that it was inhumane towards animals. And this meant that fewer and fewer people bought clothes made from furs, especially in Europe and North America, the trade's major markets. Secondly, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 made conditions for trade in the country more and more difficult. The decline of the trade had a devastating impact on Afghanistan, in particular communities in the north of the country that had come to depend on the trade as they were the ones who raised the Karakul sheep.